rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Well, you know, I was thinking about this as I was going out to feed my horses, and you know, there's so much that's going on right now in terms of the potential that our government and our lives that we are aware of and that we remember, okay, is that we, it's kind of hard for me to describe. And the reason being is because of the fact that I'm kind of what I guess you could consider apoplectic, I guess. I'm sort of like, there's so much of a buildup to this election, and there's so many things that could go wrong tonight, or wrong with this election, not tonight, but I mean with this election, that and there's so much divisiveness with this election that I think it's some of us we're going to be going through some phases where we are feeling a little overwhelmed by everything that's going on. And maybe that's the best way to really describe it, is just that, you know, we're so overwhelmed. I mean, there's so much of a sense, realistically, of not necessarily dread, not necessarily of fear, but definitely a sense of being that, you know, if things don't go our way, it is essentially going downhill. The country itself is going downhill as far as moving away from, and by downhill, I mean moving away from the American dream, the American sense of what our values are as a country and what's been, you know, placed in our hands and in our care. And it's almost as though, you know, we know for a fact that if this does not go our way, that we are seeing essentially the death of the greatest nation that has ever graced this planet. And the real sad part about it is, in my mind anyway, is that up until, you know, Obama, and then right behind him was Donald Trump, who showed us that the Obama years weren't exactly the greatest. And then we had, which, I mean, they weren't, let's just be honest. And then we had Trump, and we had 4 years, 4 decent years, not saying super years, because he was fighting against a lot of energy against the flow, because as always, whenever you're dealing with something like evil in this fashion, we have a sense here that this great weight is, you know, this great weight is sitting on our shoulders. And we kind of, I mean, we knew it was there earlier than this, but it was something like, you know, okay, and it really couldn't happen. Well, now it's here. And now we're able to see that it's here, and we're kind of, it's the seriousness of the situation. It's realizing that if we cannot wake up enough people, to the reality of the situation here, where we ourselves are the only ones screaming out into the darkness, attempting to show the rest the light that needs to be shown onto this evil that's surrounding us right now in terms of the Marxist leftist that have taken over what once was a at least partially American party, and they've done it so completely in what appears to be such a short period of time, and the divisiveness that our nation is sitting. There's no other way to really describe it other than the fact that this is an extremely serious election. This isn't like, we're just picking, the worst or the best out of two baddies. No, this is seriously 100%, at least the way I feel, is that this is seriously 100% the chance that if we don't redirect the ship now, there is a very good chance that we will never be able to redirect the ship back. Because once we lose some of the freedoms and stuff that we have here, once we lose those freedoms, we will never get them back. And, I know Buddy points it out here in Rumble, saying God is in control. We won't understand all things, and that is true. God is in control. I mean, and if you read the Bible, and maybe this is where our hope comes from, if you read the Bible and pay attention to the Bible tells us how it all is going to end. We all know who wins. There's no surprise. The spoilers have already been, produced. We know where the end is going to go. And we essentially need to, perhaps that really is where the thing needs to go, is that we need to rejoice in the fact that God is in control and God has our back and God knows the ending. God understands. And that we should be able to lift our troubles away and place them onto God and say, you know what, God, I'm feeling really, really heavy tonight. And I need you to help lift this heaviness off of me. God is in control. That is a damn good point, buddy. God is in control. God is in control. And that's probably where we need to head for in terms of that. All right. I've got a lot of stuff going on here and I need to get going. But first, let's go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance, being led by a Rumble's own Amy. So if you are of mind, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one, put your hand over your heart and join in with Amy as Amy recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And thank you, Amy, for sending that in and allowing me to put it in the rotation. Do me a favor, if you would like to hear your version of the Pledge of Allegiance, her as spoken on this show, record yourself performing it in your style, however it is that you'd like, and then send it off to fans@americanperspective.online. That's fans@americanperspective.online. And I'll get you into the rotation. All right, folks. Tonight, I want to tell you, for tonight's sponsor, I want to tell you about these wonderful shirts that I wear almost all the time. Not all the time, but almost all of the time. This is from theflagshirt.com. And theflagshirt.com has a special going on right now for Labor Day. You get $20 off when you spend $100 using promo code 20, TWENTY, at checkout. So head on over to theflagshirt.com and take a look. Now, if you don't want to spend $100, that's fine. If you spend $75 or more, you get free shipping. Or even better yet, if you don't want to spend $75 at the site, as soon as I can find my cursor here, spend $75 at the site, you can also just use a promo code that you pick up from going to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And you can get a code for $5 off your order at theflagshirt.com. So go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, get that code, and then enter that in the promo code at checkout, and you'll receive $5 off your order, compliments of American Perspective. Go to theflagshirt.com, check out all of their styles, and figure out what it is that you want. And if you want to get $5 off your order, go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. Theflagshirt.com, where you can get yourself, like me, patriotized. All right. Okay, so tonight's the night, folks. In fact, right after I broadcast, CNN is going to put out the roughly 18, maybe 20-minute actual video of Kamala Harris sort of answering questions. I mean, let's face it, it's softball stuff, okay? But that's happening tonight, immediately after this broadcast. So if you check out early and go run over there, that's fine. I understand. You want to see Kamala Harris crash and burn. I get it. I've got they released a little bit of a preview for you, and I've got that tonight. So you'll take a look at that. But first, before I do that, you know that whole thing where Trump went to Arlington National Cemetery and he laid the wreath at the request of some of the families for the Gold Star, the Gold Star families of the people who died at Abbey Gate. And they were doing this thing. They took some photos in order to memorialize the occasion, and not necessarily, as a political stunt. But of course, the left accuses Trump of politicizing everything that he does. Here in Red State, this is a new low. Press attack Gold Star families over Arlington National Cemetery ceremony to go after Trump. Now, there was a report supposedly of some cemetery staff who went and tried to stop some of the filming, the picture taking, and those kinds of things, because there is, from what I understand, and I haven't looked this up to verify this yet, just to let you all know that, but from what I understand, there is a federal law that states that you cannot use Arlington National Cemetery as part of a political campaign. There's only one problem with that. Even though it seems to be, or suggested to be, a federal law, Joe Biden, he's done it. Obama has done it. They have used parts and pieces of, footage from Arlington National Cemeteries in their political ads and their political campaigns. So for them to sit here and, go on and on and on about how Donald Trump did this as a political stunt. The thing about it is Donald Trump never stopped for the cameras, never said anything. He didn't do any kind of an interview. He didn't take questions from the press. He didn't do any of what would normally be considered a political junket. Okay? And yet here they're trying to go after Trump for some photos and some potential video. Now, they claim that it's because of the names that are on the graves, and some of the images showed those names on those graves. And Maggie Haberman, from the New York Times, she's the one that like really stirred this thing up by writing an article about all of this. And the thing that they don't mention in the entire article is the fact that the families actually asked Trump to be there, and Trump showed up. They did not ask for the president, who's vacationing on the beach. By the way, he's in day 9 of a 2-week vacation, I think in Rehoboth. But he's vacationing on the beach, and Kamala Harris, or Kamala, or whatever, however it's pronounced, she is running around campaigning, of course. Not that they would have asked for those two to be there, because from what I understand, neither of those two have actually even reached out to the families yet, which to me is completely disgusting. Your decisions made it so that these people did not come back. They didn't come home from what was supposed to be a orderly withdrawal from Afghanistan, or at least if you listen to the Biden sycophants talking about it. Actually, I should say the Harris sycophants, because remember, she was the last decision maker of that. Anyway, I digress. So they apparently have, been talking about it and so on and so forth on, the socials and all this stuff. Well, here is a letter to essentially, this is a statement that was put out by the families, and they basically say right here, we had given our approval for President Trump's official videographer and photographer to attend the event, ensuring these sacred moments of remembrance were respectfully captured so that we can cherish these memories forever. We are deeply grateful to the president for taking the time to honor our children and for standing alongside of us in our grief. Offering his unwavering support during such a difficult time, his compassion and respect meant more than words can express. With sincere gratitude, and there's 5 of the Gold Star families there. So, I mean, again, these people are just, the left wants to, they just want to continually degrade, demean, and try to make it so that Trump is dehumanized in front of the American people, other than the fact that he is not dehumanized in front of true, knowledgeable, and understanding Americans. Because we all know what makes his, him tick, basically. Well, here's something that may be a bit of a problem. You know, that whole thing that we had, the DNC, and it was supposed to be this wonderful, love and joy, and it was Joy Fest in Chicago, and love and hope and all kinds of change. And, oh, I'm Kamala Harris, I'm the VP, but I'm not responsible for anything. But I am responsible for everything that's good, which there really isn't a lot to talk about here. But anyway, while that was going on, Trump quietly has slipped into the lead now in the polls, in some of the polls anyway. And Kamala Harris, just to give you another indication. So here's some of the polls. Now, this is Polymarket. And Polymarket did some polling, and they found a few things. And here, by the way, let me just show you this. So this is the current, as of probably about an hour ago, current estimates in terms of how the Electoral College is going to work out in the race. And as you can see, and I've been watching this for a little while, but as you can see, they've added Arizona to the leans Republican side because according to their polls, you're looking at about a 56 to 44% run for Trump. So, yeah, things are starting to narrow and get tighter and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, we're going to have to see what, of course, what happens. But for right now, that bump, that DNC, post-DNC bump doesn't seem to have materialized very much. During the DNC, I was watching this forecast, and it was bouncing right around where it was 50-50. And don't get me wrong, 50-50 is still likely to happen. Pennsylvania, of course, is the keystone state, but also is the key to both candidates actually winning, believe it or not. So the road to the White House goes through Pennsylvania. But what's even more amazing is that now we're starting to get a few more of Kamala clips. Kamala off script. And, yeah, so anyway, here, this is one of her latest word salads. This courtesy of PBS News. She was doing something in a high school, I think. So let's take a listen. Come on. Uh-oh. Yep. That kind of stinks. Let's see if I can get it to refresh and get it back up here. Here we go.
Our country is counting on you. All of you. You are leaders. By the very fact that you all are here in this room, doing what you do at this incredible school, doing it as one big team, understanding all of the different parts that fit together to create a team.
Have you ever seen a kindergarten teacher? I'm serious. Have you ever seen a kindergarten teacher when she's talking to the class? That is exactly what I'm reminded of whenever I listen to Kamala Harris speaking to whoever. It doesn't matter. Whenever she gets off script, off teleprompter, that is exactly what she does. She speaks to people as though they are incredibly stupid. And that they cannot understand what it is that she is discussing. Well, nobody can understand what you're discussing, lady. But here's another example. And this, she gets caught, according to the poster here, Kyle Becker, she gets caught flat-footed as a reporter asks her, and keep in mind, this is in regards to Trump's policies. Okay? So take a look.
On a different front, Axios this week reported that President Trump, if he gets a second term, will sort of dial back, for lack of a better term, DEI programs that the Biden administration has put in forth. Obviously, I know you disagree with that. I obviously believe that you don't want him to get a second term. That said, if that does happen, what do you think that would do to race relations in this country?
Well, let me say we're going to win, so it's not going to happen. But I think that, listen, today is actually, I believe, an anniversary in terms of Dr. King, right? And I was just in Selma, and we acknowledged the 59th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. I think it's really important that we as Americans always embrace our history, the parts that we're proud of and the parts that we're not proud of, but that we can't forget. And we should all agree that we should teach history. We should learn history if we're to ever have an accurate idea of where we want to go and where we don't want to go in the future. And that means also acknowledging the importance of diversity. It means acknowledging the importance of the fact that everyone should have equal opportunity to compete and equity. And then, of course, inclusion, that, hey, let's look around the room and see who's not here, and did we leave the door open?
What the hell does that have to do with where race relations are going to be in this country should Trump get into office. Anyway, folks, this is why they won't let her off her leash. I mean, this is why they won't let her off her leash. Now, what's interesting in this town hall article, I had to play those two for you because, again, we need to keep being reminded of the fact that this woman has nothing. She is she's stupid. I mean, let's just put it that way. She's stupid. I know everybody's like, oh, she's an accomplished lawyer. She was the AG. She was, an attorney general and blah, blah, blah. Folks, she's stupid. She's one of those stupid, smart people that the Soviet Yuri Bezmenov loved and said that the Soviet Union loved, the KGB loved. But she's just, she was asked about, what do you think that's going to do with race relations? And here she is talking about, we need to learn from history. What the hell kind of an answer is that? What is it? What does that have to do with race relations? Anyway, so there was a poll conducted by the economist YouGov in combination. And it's kind of interesting because they asked the question of whether or not Harris is considered dishonest and insincere, and whether or not Trump is dishonest and insincere. Well, 53% of respondents said that Harris lacks sincerity. Well, no shit. She's horrible. But 53% of the respondents said that Harris lacks sincerity when speaking to Americans and only says what she thinks most people want to hear rather than the truth. And just 35% think that Harris actually believes in what she says. Now, I find that a little funny because, I'm sure she believes in everything that she says because she's really trying to, sound like she's a high-level intellectual. Yeah, no. Anyway, on the contrary, 51% of respondents say that Trump believes what he tells Americans, and 53% view him as being sincere. So when he says things like, I love the military, over half of the respondents feel that he is believing that and that he is sincere. So I guess I'm a little confused as to why this is even a close race. If half of the people who respond thinks that Harris lacks sincerity and that she only says what she thinks people want to hear, and Trump, on the other hand, is sincere and actually believes in what he's saying, why are we sitting at an almost even split here? This just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. It doesn't make any sense to me. I have absolutely no clue as to why this race is even considered as close as what it is, unless something else nefarious is going on. All right. Now let's move on to tonight and good old Ms. Harris, presidential candidate for the Democrat Party. So anyway, she is probably going to be asked, or most likely going to be asked, by Dana Bash or Donna. I don't know how they call. I don't know how they say her name. I really don't. It's either Donna, Dana, something. Anyway, she's going to be explaining at least one of the questions, which this is part of the preview. One of the explanations that she's going to try to give is why she has shifted her position on key issues since her first run as president. So let's take a listen to this, if I can get it to play.
How should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed.
Her values have not changed, she says. Her values have not changed. Well, if they haven't changed, then that tells me that what you believed in 2019 is what you're believing today. That what you are planning on doing and wanted to do back in 2019 you're going to do today, which includes things like banning fracking, making illegal, which, by the way, it's kind of interesting that she talks about those international organizations and drug trafficking and child trafficking and all that other stuff, where she's not doing anything to lock down the border because she was the border czar. Anyway, she also is apparently going to be asked, at least according to this preview, she's going to be asked why she would actually name a Republican to serve in her cabinet if she was elected. Now, this question, I'm telling you, is specifically attempting to make certain that she is brought back to the center. She is trying to prove that she is a centrist. She is attempting to label herself as a centrist and not as a far left Marxist, communist, leftist that she is. Take a listen.
A lot of Republican speakers at the convention. Yeah. Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would.
Anyone in mind?
Yes, I would. No one in particular in mind. We got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse. But I would. I think it's really important. I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
Yeah.
Georgia Governor.
No. She's not. She's lying to you there. She's lying to you. She's completely lying to you. Because if she wanted a moderate, a true moderate, and wasn't caring about, it was trying to get all sides, she would have picked Josh Shapiro instead of left-wing Walz. There's no way that she's ever going to have a Republican on her cabinet. It is not going to happen, people. I guarantee you that. Yeah, her values haven't shifted. Sure, they haven't. You, of course, have been backflipping on everything since you became the indoctrinated or appointed nominee. Yeah. So anyway, they also point out here in the article, with the full interview obviously being airing tonight at 9 p.m., like I said, right after this broadcast, But apparently she also was asked or, given the opportunity to brush off the questioning with regards to her racial identity. And she, of course, dismissed Donald Trump's suggestion that she happened to turn black as the, quote, same old tired playbook. Well, that's not exactly the same old tired playbook, young lady. I'm being facetious here. Because she's actually older than I am. But apparently Bash actually pressed her a little bit on her reversals regarding fracking and decriminalizing illegal border crossings. So that's going to be interesting to hear where that comes from and how her position has changed from that. But anyway, I highly doubt that it's going to be like the hardball interviews that somebody would give, say, Donald Trump on, 60 Minutes or whatever it was. So I just don't see that happening, from that perspective. But, we'll just have to see. I'm going to try and find it, of course, after I'm done broadcasting to listen to it. So maybe I might have some opinions on it tomorrow, for tomorrow night's show. But anyway, yeah. So this is softball, very, very softball, very cordial. Yeah. This isn't antagonistic in any way, shape, or form. But of course, the Democrats, they got to keep pushing. They got to keep pushing for, trying to demonize Trump and demonize him in such a way that they can make people believe that he is just this horrible, nasty person. And of course, one of the ways that they're doing that is they're trying to push. Hi, Joan, on Facebook. Yes. There we go. Hey, Rick, good to see you. Good to see you too. But anyway, so one of the things that they're doing, of course, is they keep trying to tie Trump to Project 2025. Now, here's the facts. Project 2025 is a Heritage Foundation think tank product that has been coming out since the 1980s. Okay. It's been a conservative viewpoint and prescription for the incoming administrations going all the way back to Reagan. All right. Now, that being said, okay, Project 2025 does have a portion of the people who are part of that who also have been part of Donald Trump's cabinet. Project 2025, being a conservative think tank paper, has a lot in common with what would be considered a conservative agenda, like Agenda 47. However, that does not, unlike the Democrats try to tell you, that does not mean that Project 2025 is going to become policy. And now what I've been seeing on some people on the socials, especially on X, they have been attempting to say, well, when Project 2025 tells you that you will be losing your abortion, blah, blah, blah. Folks, look, Project 2025 is, again, all it is a think tank. That's it. That's just a paper, a 900-page document that got put together and tossed out and has been, having it happen. They're trying to make it out like Project 2025 is going to be enshrined into law the minute that Donald Trump takes the oath for the second time and becomes president, the 47th president of the United States. It's not even close. Because Project 2025 is not the Constitution. Project 2025 is not congressional statutes. In fact, it's not even a proposed bill inside of Congress. Project 2025 hasn't even been put together or put in front of the House or the Senate. Nobody's voted on it. It is not a plan. It is not a bill. It is not a statute. It's nothing. All it is just a recommendation for here, as we as a think tank want to do for the country. These are the things that we want to have happen. Now, I've shown you a poll before. There was a poll that had several Project 2025 initiatives. And when presented to people about the points that are in Project 2025 without the Democrat lies and innuendo and propaganda, the people polled and surveyed actually overwhelmingly agreed with it. Now, there is another poll that is suggesting that Project 2025 policies might be actually popular with the American people. Right here in the National Pulse. Poll shows Project 2025 policies actually quite popular with voters. Right here. New data released by Redfield and Wilton Strategies finds that the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025 policy proposals are generally popular among the American public. According to the survey, most of the major ideas published in the Independent Presidential Transition Project's policy guide hold over 50% support among voters. According to the survey, 53% of Americans agree with the proposition that the United States Department of Homeland Security needs to be reformed and reorganized. Even overtly Republican positions, such as abolishing the Department of Education, which was a popular mantra during Ronald Reagan's presidency, hold nearly even support among Americans. So Americans themselves, they want reform. They want reform. We want change. We don't want what Obama gave us. We don't want what Biden is looking for. We don't want what Harris is going to implement in after the November election in her first term. We definitely don't want that. She is pure Marxist. And that's all that this is indicating. Look, Project 2025 is, again, it's a product of a think tank. It's a wish list. Okay? It's a wish list of conservatives. They're not going to get everything in it. And what's funny too is that even though the Democrats keep pushing and pushing with this idea that abortion is like this bad thing in Project 2025. Project 2025 doesn't even really talk about it. They don't even really give any kind of a policy for it. I mean, you should get it. I have a copy of it. I've been meaning to post a link, and I have a copy of it, that all 900 pages. I've been meaning to dig through it myself. But folks, Project 2025 isn't that scary. And when people see the policies that are in it, okay, when they see the policies that are in it, they actually agree with those policies. Even policies that seem to be detrimental, for an example, even abolishing the Department of Education, which of course has been talked about as one of the more radical proposals, was only opposed by 51% of the surveyed respondents. There was about 1,500 or so respondents to the whole thing. Under the Project 2025 plan, states and not the federal government would set the curriculum standards and for the most part would oversee U.S. educational policy. And that's the way it was prior to, I believe it was Carter who brought it back. Andrew Jackson actually created it originally, and then it didn't have enough teeth, and then so it was abolished, and then Carter brought it back. Anyway. folks, Project 2025 is not this, devil worshiping book. I mean, that's what they essentially put it out to be, is that it's like, oh my gosh, we're going to die. Ah! Anyway, the point is that this is not as bad as what you think it is. Project 2025 is not as bad as what the mainstream media is putting out there. And in actuality, again, when people are actually surveyed on the points within Project 2025, people believe that people believed or believe in the proposals that are being put forth. All right, not that anybody here on this program needs this, needs to know this, but there's another video that has come out about January 6th. And no, it is not. January 6th is an insurrection, and here's the insurrection. Donald Trump failed to provide. No. What it is Nancy Pelosi, once again, in a different forum, stating that they failed to prepare, that she failed to prepare, and that she takes responsibility for it. Here's the article. American Military News. Video: Pelosi admits Democrat leaders totally failed to call in the National Guard on January 6th. Now, remember that whole thing about how Donald Trump was supposed to, he was the one who could have sent in the National Guard. And I've told you multiple times, the Insurrection Act, the Posse Comitatus Act, both of those acts prevent the president from engaging the military to operate on U.S. soil without specific provisos being covered. One of them, in particular, in this particular case, the civilian authority, in most cases, the governor of the state, but since D.C. doesn't have a governor, and that D.C. constitutionally is run completely by the legislature, meaning Congress, okay, that means Nancy Pelosi was the one who was in charge at the time. And it is her fault, not to mention Muriel Bowser's, but it's her fault for not bringing in the National Guard. Well, guess what? She, once again, admits it. Now, this video that's on this, I'm not going to play it for you because, believe me, it has a bunch of background noise, and it's really hard to hear her words. So what I am going to do is I'm going to play it for you after I have removed some of the background sounds so that you can hopefully clearly hear what Pelosi is saying. Take a listen.
How many times did the members ask, are we prepared? Are we prepared? We're not. Prepared for the worst. We're calling the National Guard. Now, we've been here to stay. Next time we will have totally failed. Responsibility for not holding this authority accountable for what could have happened.
Okay, and it was still pretty bad because even my closed captioning couldn't keep up with it. But what in the video you can hear her saying, how many times did the members ask, are we prepared? Are we prepared? We're not prepared for the worst. She walks out as she's being evacuated in a tunnel, okay, from under the Capitol building. She asks, we're calling in the National Guard now? They should have been here to start. And the sound that you're hearing, which Mark points out on Facebook, he's like, are they riding a horse, clip-clopping? Well, that is essentially them walking on the very hard surfaces of the floor. They have like I don't know if it's tile or linoleum or if it's, polished concrete. I have no idea, but they're, and she also has a mask on, so it's hard for her to speak or hard for you to hear. But like I said, I tried to clean it up as best I could. But she also continues at the very end. She says, we have totally failed. We need to take some responsibility for not moving to a secure location. Or not moving to secure the building. Once again, she admits she didn't do what she was supposed to do, and she let it happen. So, yeah, this is all stuff, by the way. This is all stuff that the January 6th committee didn't want to have come to light because her daughter, and this is where the video comes from, this and the one where she's in the SUV saying the exact same thing. Her daughter was the one filming all of this because they were going to do a documentary, apparently, on Nancy Pelosi and in particular January 6th. Pelosi turned down the National Guard. So did Muriel Bowser. They were offered 3 days prior to the whole event. Donald Trump said, hey, I can give you 10,000 National Guard troops if you want them. And they said, nope, we got it. We can handle it. Even though, according to the same Capitol Police officers, they knew that stuff was going to hit the fan. They knew it. They knew it. And no, like I said, there was a group of staffers and stuff around them, and that's where you're hearing. And they were actually walking very quickly and very forcefully to get to wherever it was that they were going. Well, Texas has done something awesome for the election coming up in 2024. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And I think a lot of other states are doing the exact same thing. I've told you about it in the past, and I'll keep talking about it because they also found non-citizens voting on their voter rolls. Hello! Why do you think they want all these illegal aliens here in this country? Take a look at this from Town Hall. Amid the effort to clean up its voter rolls, Texas makes an alarming discovery about non-citizens voting. Texas's effort to clean up its voter rolls has resulted in more than 1 million names being removed. So this is in regards to signing Texas Senate Bill 1 into law in 2021. And essentially what's happening here is that individuals who have moved out of the state, who have died, or who are non-citizens have been taken off the voter rolls. Abbott said in a statement, election integrity is essential to our democracy. I have signed the strongest election laws in the nation to protect the right to vote and to crack down on illegal voting. These reforms have led to the removal of over 1 million ineligible people from our voter rolls in the last 3 years, including non-citizens, deceased voters, and people who've moved to another state. The Secretary of State and county voter registrars have an ongoing legal requirement to review the voter rolls and remove ineligible voters and refer any potential illegal voting to the Attorney General's office, local authorities for investigation and prosecution. Yeah. So this is essentially the truth. Now, they found, according to this, of the 1 million names removed, they found more than 6,500 non-citizens. And out of that 6,500, they had almost 2,000 of them. So almost a third of them actually had a voter history. Do not tell me that the illegals, non-citizen voters are not voting in our elections ever again. This is proving it right here. People, I'm telling you, This is exactly what's going on here. This is it. Yeah. So the Secretary of State's office, according to the article, is in the process of sending all 1,930 records to the Attorney General's office for investigation and potential legal action. Anyway. Yeah. Don't tell me that illegals are not voting in our elections, period. Speaking of which, California leading the way to make sure and paving the way to make sure that all kinds of illegitimate voters can keep voting in California. Well, they just passed a bill banning voter ID laws. Oh my gosh. So now they've passed a law and they're basically saying that they're done. They're not going to allow you to use voter ID in California at all. This is according to the Center Square. They passed a bill banning local governments from adopting voter identification laws for local elections. It doesn't require, California state law doesn't require identification to vote, but earlier this year, the city of Huntington Beach approved a voter ID requirement for municipal elections starting in 2026. This bill would, of course, override Huntington Beach's policy. They still claim that voter ID laws subvert voter turnout, which is a whole bunch of crap, and create barriers to law-abiding voters, another bunch of crap. But anyway, they tie it, or they basically say, to register to vote in California, voters are already required to provide their driver's license number, California identification number, or the last four digits of a social security number. Now, here's the kicker. Undocumented migrants are able to secure California identification numbers. Non-citizens are allowed to vote in local school board elections in San Francisco. Huntington Beach's neighboring city of Santa Ana is considering following San Francisco's lead. A November ballot measure would allow non-citizens to vote in all, not just school board municipal elections in the city. They're putting in a fast lane. They're putting in a fast lane so that illegals can vote. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Folks, we have got to secure our elections. We've got to do something to secure our elections. All right, I'm going to let you guys go a little bit early. Do me a favor. If you like the program, make sure you head on over to Rumble. And once you get there and sign up, of course, if you don't already have an account, but once you are there, make sure you follow the American Perspective channel and, hit that green follow button so that you can be notified whenever I come online and start broadcasting. Also, too, if you are over there or any of my outlets, please make sure you hit those thumbs up buttons, those like buttons, whatever, all the different things, because that helps me to get my videos noticed. All right, let's all head on over and take a look at Kamala Harris's wonderful scripted interview. Anyway, have a great rest of your evening. We'll see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.